maalin wanaagsan maanta waxaan soo booqannay xafiiska community living oo aanu booqasho ugu tagnay si aan ula kulanno madaxda xafiiskaas iyo howlwadeennada aanu u soo baranno waxa ay qabtaan howlaha ay u hayaan communitiga Canada gaar ahaan sida communitiga Soomaaliyeed ee baahiyooyinka gaarka ay qabaa ay uga faa'iideysan lahaayeen. And today we are visiting community living center, and we will meet the management, the leaders, and staff and volunteers in order for our community to understand how we can have an access to the services that they provide the larger and Ontario communities. And I have the pleasure to interview Mr. Bruce Rivers. Good afternoon, and thank you for welcoming us to your offices. And my first question is, tell us about Community Living Toronto, its purposes and mandate.
Mali Wadnagsan, and thank you so much for coming to talk with me and to visit Community Living Toronto. It's our privilege to be spending time with you today to talk about our work and its relevance to the Somali community. Community Living Toronto actually began 61 years ago, and it started because a grandmother believed that her grandchild should not go into an institution. She believed that there was a better way for her child because her child at that time was referred to as retarded, having an intellectual disability. We don't use the word retarded anymore. We use intellectual disability. But at that time, the advice and answer that an individual was given if they had a child with an intellectual disability is that they needed to send that child away to an institution to have his or her needs met. She called on families from across Toronto to come together, and they filled a church basement. And that was the beginning of a family movement that resulted in what we know today as Community Living Toronto. And that is an organization that finds alternatives for people in community so that they can be included where they live, learn, work, and play.
Thank you. And my next question is, as you mentioned, what is an intellectual disability?
An intellectual disability is a term that's used to describe a person who has certain limitations in learning with everyday living. But that condition is not something that's acquired through an accident like a brain injury. An intellectual disability, which in years past has been referred to as retarded, is typically acquired in utero during birth. So it's genetic. And it's not something that we all understand fully, but we do see people with intellectual disabilities who have different diagnoses. For example, you'll see somebody who's referred to as Down syndrome. That would be an example of a person with an intellectual disability. And some of the people that we support have very severe intellectual disabilities, so much so that they are not able to move or communicate. They require 24/7 care, intensive high-level care, through to individuals who are quite high-functioning. And you wouldn't notice for several minutes that that person is struggling with an intellectual disability until you've had an opportunity to interact with them for a while and see that they are. And typically those people would have problems with learning, with cognitive functioning, and they would be needing support around daily tasks of getting up in the morning, preparing their food, getting dressed, communicating, participating in the community. So when we use the word intellectual disability, we're referring to a fairly large percentage of the population. In Canada, it's estimated that that could be 3% of the general population.
Thank you. And on a brief research, I noticed you have a large organization. Can you tell us more about your staff, volunteers, expertise, roles, and the functions that you have for the community?
I'd be delighted to. We have grown to be one of the largest organizations of its kind in North America. and we currently employ 1,300 staff. They work together with a team of volunteers, about 900 volunteers, and we offer program and support to 6,000 people on an annual basis across the city of Toronto. And in doing so, we operate out of 76 different locations across the city of Toronto. So we have a presence in practically every community of this great city, and we're very, very proud of those roots.
Many Somali families have challenges and they may have children who need an assistance. How can an organization like Community Living Toronto assist those families?
In many ways, because we have offered and developed programs that will address the needs of an individual at all ages and stages of their life. So starting with the birth of a child who might have an intellectual disability, we have support programs for parents that are actually operated by other parents who have been there, done that, and understand what it's like to give birth to a child with an intellectual disability and start to plan around meeting his or her needs. That's called Pilot Parents. We also have a whole team of people who focus on what we call early childhood and those critical years of 0 to 8. And what can a parent do to improve their ability to communicate with and to help their child adjust to their disability and to do the best that they can in spite of it. We also have developed a website called connectability.ca. And through that website, a person can access information 24/7, 365 days a year related to intellectual disability, and it's filled with tip sheets that anybody would find very, very helpful. We also have extensive programs to support families and individuals attending school who have intellectual disability. And then moving from school into adulthood, we developed a number of residential programs and options for people in community, everything from providing respite and relief through to providing intensive 24-hour, 7-day-a-week care at the residential level through group homes that are situated throughout the city of Toronto. In addition to all of that, we've created what I would call day programs so that if an individual is living with family, they'd have a place to come to during the day for social, recreational, educational, language skill development, and most importantly, employment readiness. And we're very, very proud of our roots in that regard because we've been able to place individuals with intellectual disability throughout the community to participate either as volunteers or employees in organizations like Tim Hortons, Winners, Celestica, IBM. It's been amazing.
And the language issues, the language barriers, what does Community Living Toronto do to overcome or integrate those members of our communities?
We've been intent on doing a better job of that and reaching out and working in partnership with individuals like Jibril and organizations throughout Toronto that serve and support the Somali community. And in doing so, one of the things that we're most proud of is a partnership that we've developed with OCASI, which is the Ontario Council of Agencies Serving Immigrants. And together with them, we have translated the connectability.ca website into 11 different languages. And one of the languages that we've chosen to focus on is Somali. And we've created tip sheets, and I have examples of that I could show you that provide parents with very basic information related to toilet training, related to language skills, related to all sorts of things like this.